So now let's get into, because we're on the Joss Whedon rolling train here, we're going to break down the first Avengers, directed by Joss Whedon. Ooh, well, so...
Yeah, came out in 2012, just some brief statistics real quick. The total worldwide box office was 1.5 million. No, I'm just kidding. They didn't do that great. $1.5 billion worldwide. Holy shit. That's something, that's landmark. I remember when this movie came out and it was a big deal.
I remember, man, I can't remember the story exactly very well, but I kind of actually remember I didn't quite care too much about this one, but I really went and saw it, and how we saw it was, I don't know who it was, but somebody you knew bought out the theater.
He bought a lot.
Yeah, he pretty much bought out the theater, and you had tickets, so I was like, all right, let's go see it.
Yep, it was like a Saturday morning showing, and he bought an ass ton. I don't think it was a full theater, but he did buy several rows. And it wasn't assigned seating, but he was basically like, we're fucking buying. And I remember, we were kind of like reserving seats for people who couldn't get there yet, and basically taking up like, nope, this entire row's taken. We have all these tickets, kind of thing. So yeah, that was kind of a cool experience. I think he wanted to buy out the theater, because you can in some instances, and they wouldn't let him in this case. But yeah, it was cool stuff. If anyone cares, 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, 8.1 on IMDb. The biggest memorable thing, in addition to that, is I just remember how big it was to finally see, this is something we'll always credit the MCU for. You had all these movies, not all these movies, but you had a couple movies of each character leading up to this point, and then now you're going to get all of the characters together, kind of interwoven in this one story. And that's a landmark thing that, regardless of if Justice League was supposed to come out before, the MCU did a fantastic job building to this moment. And I just remember that being like a huge deal. Does it hold up as much now that we've seen these characters so much? Not necessarily. But at the time, when you have that in your mind and you're like, holy shit, like we finally have it. They do a great job, in my opinion, at kind of reintroducing each of the characters, figuring out where they're at. In the world, what are they doing, and then kind of talking about the Avengers Initiative. They're also all kind of when they're going through the introductions. It starts out with Hawkeye, I believe,
and Nick Fury.
And Nick Fury, and then they that's when like the Tesseract gets stolen by Loki, and then he controls Hawkeye and Dr. whatever is asked from
Eric Sullivan.
Okay, nice. From Thor, and then basically Samuel L. Jackson. Fuck.
Nick
Fury. Wow. Messing up on names already. Nick Fury he's like, oh shit, have to go start rounding up these people. It's time for the Avengers Initiative.
Trying to get these motherfucking Avengers on the motherfucking plane.
Yeah, pretty much. So, and then we get Black Widow. We get introduction to her. Then she eventually finds Hulk. And then Captain America gets found by Fury.
Well, he's punching a punching bag.
Yeah, and then he punches it off of the chain because he's been frozen forever. And then
I think that was supposed to be an innuendo for sex. I think that's what he was supposed to be. He's been pent up for a long time.
Yeah, all of his frustration. Yeah, that could be.
Yeah,
that could be just blowing his load several times. I like it. Yeah, so I thought there's definitely some iconic parts in this. You get the first fight with Iron Man and Thor, where they're kind of fighting each other. I thought it was pretty badass.
Want me to bring the hammer?
Yeah. Do you want me to like drop the hammer? Yeah. No, you don't want him to do that. And then boom.
Don't take his hammer. He really likes his hammer. Dude, you know what? I mean, I was going to I wrote down things to break down the movie and stuff, but I'm sure a lot of people have seen it. But there's a couple things that just really stood out to me, and I just couldn't, and I'm just scratching my head on it, and I wish I could figure it out. I just put, what about phase one that the humor seems to work? I mean, we watched Incredible Hulk, we watched Iron Man 1, we've seen Thor 1, and even though Thor 1 wasn't that good, I still thought the humor worked really well in Thor 1. Iron Man, the humor's fantastic.
Yes.
Hulk has some humor in it and stuff like that. I don't really remember Captain America, the first Avenger or whatever it was, the first one. I don't really remember that one that well, so I can't really say anything on that one. But I'm watching this one, and it's not annoying me.
No,
I don't know why.
I feel like it's the subtlety of it. There's certain parts like there's really good dialogue in this, and I feel like because of how they play off of each other, and it's not like beat you over the head constantly, like the tugging of the cape or what are some other fucking things?
Well, there was one in the beginning, and right off the bat, that just started laughing. Is like Coulson's on the phone with Black Widow when she's interrogating that.
Oh yeah,
guy.
right.
And she's beating the shit out of him, and he's just on the other end of the phone, and he's like, and you just hear you hear her beating the shit out of him. He's just chilling on the other end of the phone. I'm like, it was funny.
I like the fact that she's like, oh, this idiot's giving me everything, and that they're talking in Russian, and then all of a sudden she speaks in English, and then he speaks in English. She's like, I'm not giving you everything. Like, no, this was working out for me. And she's like, nah, you were.
It just really worked out very, very well. There's a couple other parts where Iron Man walks up to Thor after that fight they had, that little skirmish thing like that. He's like, you got a mean swing, Point Break. And like, it makes a Point Break reference. I didn't remember that before, but I was just fucking dying laughing. Like, it does look like a surfer fucking goofball. That fucking idiot.
And I like the, what's the game that the guy was playing?
Galaga.
Yeah, Galaga. And, I thought that was fantastic. I like, some of the stuff, when Captain America says we need a plan of attack, and then Iron Man's like, I have a plan, attack,
and he just blows out of that thing.
and then takes off. And then there's another part where Wonder Woman's like, or not Wonder
Shane's fading.
Wow, yeah. Black Widow, as we said, we record these late. Black Widow says, you think you can, keep up with them? They're basically gods.
Yeah.
And Captain America says, they're not gods, ma'am.
No, there's only one god.
Oh, yeah, there's only one god, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that. And like, that's good stuff. It's not over the top, like, annoying eye-rolling humor. It's just very subtle. And I agree. I feel like it works in phase 1. And then somehow they kind of like took that and continued and went more and more and more with it as the MCU has progressed.
There's something I don't know. I don't understand. I really don't understand why it doesn't work in later versions. Like Iron Man 3 was terrible.
Yeah.
Thor: The Dark World was terrible. And it just didn't follow up very well. It didn't. I don't know that, Ultron is running kind of where it jumped the shark a little bit. That one was, was the moment right there where it kind of jumped the shark, and the humor became so over the top when your bad guy robot is busting out quips.
Yeah. I feel like in my
maybe that's it. Maybe that's the moment.
In my memory, that's kind of where it started. As much as I do really enjoy Guardians of the Galaxy, I feel like that kind of almost added to it. It added where it was very successful, and they're like, oh, okay, we got something here, because and at the time when Guardians of the Galaxy came out, it was different. It was on the other side where it's out there, it's bright, and and they made it work. And then I feel like they were like, oh well, now let's make that Doctor Strange, and then obviously it looks like Thor Ragnarok's going to be like that, and Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which that works, but I feel like maybe it's because of that they kind of took it and ran with it. But yeah, I feel I definitely agree with you. The humor worked in this one, and there was a lot of really good parts in this movie. I enjoy a lot of it. The comment that I made earlier as far as theme with Joss Whedon stuff, once it gets to the third act, not a fan. Once it gets to that part, it kind of starts. There's a lot of eye rolling moments. I don't remember really hating Black Widow. I mean, she's pretty freaking hot. Ooh. And she stands out, and you kind of get annoyed by her. Yeah, and some of the shit she's doing, you're like, you fucking kidding me? I mean, we'll get to that point eventually, but.
Yeah, I mean, there's just one thing though I will point out though that I thought was kind of interesting was that this there's actually a lot more I don't want to say graphic violence in this one than I remember, but I mean, right off the bat, in the very beginning of the movie, Loki comes out and he's just like stabbing motherfuckers, throws knives in a couple dudes like necks and shit, and he just stabs them. When the helicarrier's going down, Cap just throws this dude off the helicarrier, 50,000 feet in the air or whatever the hell they are.
Yeah, the helicarrier scene was awesome. I like the way they pieced that together. I feel like when I was watching in the theaters, it was a lot longer, but the part where Cap has to like speed up the propeller, to get it going, and he's like struggling to do it.
Yeah.
I liked that. There's a lot of things. I liked the part, we've talked about this before, where the pilot has to shoot the Hulk to like distract him or whatever.
Yeah.
And then
target locked or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he turns around, target angry.
Yeah, target angry. And then he jumps, and then I love how he like Hulk rips off the top and then grabs him, and
the pilot ejects.
Oh yeah, the pilot ejects.
And
he grabs
him.
Yeah, grabs the pilot, and then throws him, and then the parachute shoots off.
Yeah.
And then
the plane blows up, and you just hear Hulk go.
Right. Yeah. So I like that scene. I thought that scene was awesome. Some of the stuff as far as, you know, just the way that Whedon shoots his films. There's a lot of very iconic moments in this. The way that even in the helicarrier, you know, so after everything happens and they're all sitting down, and Fury. Wow, I don't know. I cannot get that
forgetting
name.
The black guy. Our Black Panther review is not going to be very good.
I know. This. Yeah, I can't remember all their names. And he had
2 white guys in that movie that we've
seen. So when he, you know, sits him down and he's explaining kind of the Avengers initiative, and the way that it kind of pans
around the table.
Yeah, around the table and through everything, and it's really well done. There's a lot of iconic moments that stick out in the MCU. The Hulk chasing Black Widow, you know, and shit just exploding. Obviously, you know, the biggest one where they're all landing on like the streets of New York, and it pans around them.
Right.
As Iron Man's kind of floating down. The part at the very end with Loki. There's a lot of like great imagery that is just stuck with the MCU, and it's used in advertisements and just as like it's a part of this. And I think that's a big credit to Whedon and how he shoots his movies. And some of them, like the very ending one, was a little corny, but it's, you know, it's good stuff. And I like the way that he was using the panning, you know, and he does a great job. And you know, when you read the script, the Wonder Woman script, you can see where he's thinking.
Yeah, he put those details.
Yeah, his thought processes. So,
you know, one of the things that I just kind of want to talk about was, like you were saying at the end there, I put this thing almost makes sense, but Black Widow killing these aliens with a 9mm and taser is dumb. And I put they show this part where the military have full automatic M16s, high powered automatic weapons, and they're like huddling in a corner. I'm like, if she can take them out with a 9mm one-handed shooting, the military should be wrecking these things with high powered automatic rifles.
She had some. So the iconic part, you know, where everyone knows about. She loads her pistol. Yeah. Like, everyone has like this, all right, we're going to fucking get ready. And she's like, you know, and it's just weird. And then she all of a sudden knows how to use the alien tech, and she's like blasting them.
She's giving them a fucking triangle choke, but then tasering them in the back.
Right. Yeah. The part where she uses Cap as a springboard off his shield, and she jumps like fucking 30 stories or whatever it is. Does a great.
Cap's really strong.
Yeah. Okay, I believe that, but then she fucking lands perfectly on this, times it perfectly, lands on this, whatever it is, the ship,
scooter.
Yeah, basically the Chitauri. I made sure to write that down. They get fucking nerfed in this battle. Like, they don't really, other than damaging property, they don't do much.
You might as well have had a bunch of barbarians. Because that's about what they equate to.
Yeah.
They had cool weapons, but they had no armor. They didn't really have, they had numbers, I guess. But like I said, if the military actually was allowed to do like what military would do, right, these fools would be fucking wrecked. It was a little stupid, but hey, it's a superhero movie. You're supposed to have fun. Gives plenty of things for Hulk to smash. Yeah. And that's iconic too. Hulk, also Bruce saying, you know what my secret is, and he turns, all of a sudden he can control the Hulk now.
That was an irritating thing. He doesn't know,
I don't
like
know, irritating, but
well, I don't know. It's one of those like
convenient.
And inconsistent things, because had they removed the part where he's fighting with Black Widow and he's like chasing her and everything, then it wouldn't have bugged me that much. But you have that scene.
There's a couple of those,
and he can't control himself. He can't control his anger. And then all of a sudden in this, he's like, I forgot to tell you, my secret is I'm always angry. Raw, and then he can control it. No problem.
Yeah, there's a couple moments I feel like we're left on the cutting room floor. There's the one part where Thor, he makes it out of the glass little chamber, and then he goes to reach for the hammer, Mjolnir, and it doesn't come to him, like, and he can't can't get it at first, and then it just pans away, and then all of a sudden he gets back, and the music starts playing. Then he grabs the hammer. It's like he wasn't worthy of the hammer anymore, or something, or he didn't have power anymore. He was weak or something. I don't know. It was really weird. They kind of showed that, and then they cut away, and it was just random. Then all of a sudden he just grabs the hammer.
Yeah,
and produces a bunch of lightning.
Someone else who kind of irritated me a little bit. He had some pretty cool moments. Was Hawkeye in the final battle.
I thought he utilized well because he was up high. He's giving out commands or saying these guys are over here. Let's go over here. And he's exploding arrows so that can take out those fucking scooters.
Yeah, but I also thought in a lot of instances he's like in a very broad open. Like, can't he just be shot down by the Chitauri or fucking take it?
They can't even get close to him.
And it almost happens, and then he like escapes, and he has his one last arrow, and then he plucks his one last arrow out of the one dude and puts it in his in the back and. There's some weird like inconsistent parts, and on the final battle is cool. Like you said, it's a lot of like property damage and just shit happening and explosions, and it's very cool to watch. But when you're actually like watching it for whatever time this is for me, and you're kind of dissecting it and taking notes, then there's certain things that stand out a little bit more.
I have a bunch of nitpicking shit.
Yeah.
No. I just haven't said anything. I haven't said those things yet, the nitpicking shit. Like, for instance, on the helicarrier, the SHIELD dudes and all the other guys that were attacking Captain America, they're all wearing oxygen masks, but Captain America's not, even though they're up in the air and shit like that.
He's a super soldier.
Yeah, I guess super breathing and shit like that. And there's a lot of other things. Again, we were talking about in the Incredible Hulk movie, it just seems like his heartbeat gets up, he turns into the Hulk. In this one, it was pure anger or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of a little stupid there. I did think Coulson's speech to Loki was really good. I thought that was funny. And he's like, "You're a born loser," and shit like that. "You're always gonna lose," and shit like that. After he gets stabbed, and then Coulson shoots him with the gun. He's like, "Oh, that's what it does."
Yeah, I that's a part that kind of gets made fun of on the DC side a little bit that I've seen.
Really?
Like, people using that. I I enjoy it because it is one of those like similar to the Quicksilver. I wanted to say Silver Surfer. It's similar to that where he has to have one last line of dialogue before he dies. It's like kind of along the same lines of like, that's what that does.
I get it, but for some reason it works better.
It does. Yeah. It doesn't bother me as much, but I do kind of get it. It's one of those things that just pops up in memes and shit like that.
One other thing watching this though, I did realize is Coulson shouldn't have been killed off. I know they needed to do something there to kind of push people together, and technically he wasn't killed off. He's on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or some shit like that, or whatever happened with that. I don't know. I don't watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so I don't know. But I really feel like Coulson, if he was still involved in this, like when Winter Soldier happens and S.H.I.E.L.D. breaks up, and like if he was still hanging around Fury like as his sidekick or something like that, I don't know, he added the glue. I think that kind of helped all these characters come together.
Yeah, he is a great character,
and I think he would have helped this bit better. Like we were talking about in our Black Panther thing. I think that Wingus that they're gonna fucking that white guy they're trying to generate there, I think he's gonna be the new Coulson maybe to kind of glue everybody together for the Infinity Wars. There is one big thing that I wanted to point this out, and I have I kind of changed my tone a little bit on this. A lot of people, when people talk about the destruction in Man of Steel, all the people dying and everything else, a lot of DC fans and stuff like that will bring up the Avengers here. They'll bring up this part where New York gets wrecked and a lot of people die and so forth. One of the things I noticed in this one that I just don't quite think I've ever noticed before is I don't think that argument quite works anymore, because what they did in this one, even though, yes, New York is getting wrecked, to the average moviegoer, the perception of this one was Steve Rogers is still going out there, Captain America is still going out there and trying to save individuals. He talks to the police, he saves the police. He goes in that group, that building, saves that little circle of people. He's trying to save people. He's trying to make a perimeter, and he still has this feeling of trying to save people when people with the Man of Steel argument is that he's just tearing buildings up.
Right.
He's not trying to save anything. Yeah. He's trying to defeat Zod.
Yeah, and I've agreed with that. The problem is
I just see a lot of people use that argument, and I've kind of used that argument in the past, and I'm like, I guess from the general perspective, is he's still trying to save people. Yes, they are wrecking the city. Yes, probably hundreds of thousands of people are. Well, they only put like 75. Or some shit like
I was gonna say. I was gonna ask you if you remember the numbers. I get the perception. However, if you kind of piece together some of the other stuff, the rest of the Avengers are a little reckless. Like Hulk, he just goes barreling through that office building.
All you need is
like
that one moment. You just need that moment, like, of somebody trying to show that they do care about life. Mm-hmm. I think that's what people wanted.
Yeah.
I could see that. I think people might understand the casualties of a big battle, like something like that, like in Man of Steel or in this Avengers. But I think that one small perception, that one little extra 5 to 10 minutes they gave to Steve Rogers there to try to show that he was actually trying to save individuals and save people in general, I think actually may have turn that perspective a little bit, and maybe that's the reason why Avengers doesn't get that knock as much.
Yeah, they do in Man of Steel. They do a good job at doing that in Smallville, because he's telling everyone
the best thing he does is tell people get inside.
No, and he saves the guy from falling and
the military.
Yeah, and so he's in this fight, and he like grabs him real quick, puts him down, then all of a sudden he looks over and he's trying to do a little bit of both. In the Metropolis scene, no, it's nothing. Yeah, so
other than him trying to fly to space,
right,
to obviously try to get away from the big battle, but he gets knocked back down into it. So
yeah,
I mean, yeah. So I kind of like I watched that. And I'm like, huh. That argument I could see from the perception of the common moviegoer, which is who we're is kind of what studios are aiming for.
Yeah.
Not retards like us and shit like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fair critique. I've always kind of I've acknowledged that a little bit, and that's where a lot of people who don't like Henry Cavill's, Snyder's vision of Superman is they compare him to Captain America and how Captain America is, no matter what, always doing the right thing. So I get that comparison. I feel like Captain America has had, is a little bit more veteran at this point, of the point of Avengers, and hopefully,
that's true.
Maybe by the point of Justice League, Superman will kind of have that. He's made his amateur mistakes. So
yeah, that's very true. Yeah, and one last thing, people always make fun of the Man of Steel product placement. There was a huge Farmers ad in the middle of this one, so I just want to point that out.
Oh yeah,
like Iron Man's getting fucked up, and in the background, it's like, we will insure you, we will this,
right.
Farmers, blah, blah, blah. As he's getting wrecked by the
perfect
fucking aliens and shit.
Yeah.
One of the most iconic scenes in a lot of comic book movies is when Hulk grabs Loki, smashes the shit out of him. I would love to hear if anybody has a story if they were in the theater at the time and they did not get a huge pop laugh.
Yeah.
From that, because I remember that theater that we were in erupted.
Yeah.
When that happened. I mean, that is
puny god or whatever.
Yeah, and he fucking just wrecks him, and then of course the great comedic thing of the pan over on top of Loki, and he's like.
Yeah. Yeah, that part's fantastic.
So that's just really well done, and that's probably that's definitely. You could say you don't like jokes. You could maybe be the most hardcore DC guy in the world, but come on.
Yeah, that's got to make you laugh.
You got to crack a smile at least a little bit when you see that.
Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to bring up that you brought up a lot, as far as as the damages and stuff to the city, and there's actually a guy at the very end who mentions, the Avengers have to be held responsible for all the damages to the city, which I didn't notice that at first. But the nuclear bomb that all of a sudden I think it's the shield that's kind of
the what was that called? It was in Winter Soldier. It was called like I forgot what they were called. I had the name down too before. But yeah, they were like the Department of Defense or something like that. This like World Security Council.
Yeah, there you go. Nice. Yeah. So all of a sudden they're like, I guess we're just gonna cut our losses. Yeah. And
that nuke is always the funniest thing to me when it comes to Civil War, because it's like, we need to rein you in. I'm like, motherfuckers, you were gonna nuke. Right. You were gonna nuke a fucking city of millions of people.
Yeah.
And one of the other things is, being part of a military family, that they found 2 pilots to fucking fly and nuke the shit out of a city. I'm like, okay, there's military and there's people that will follow almost all orders, but I think you're going to be very hard to find anybody that's willing to fly.
1, much less 2.
Yeah. And like, no.
Okay, sounds
with
good.
No fucking delay. Like,
right.
He presses the button. All right, package delivered. Just fucking U-turn. I was like, that's the worst UPS fucking I've ever seen.
I'm coming home, honey. Coming home. All in a day's work. Just fucking.
What'd you do today, honey?
Oh, I blew up New York City.
Yeah, I just killed about 10 million, 20 million people. Aliens are still coming through that hole because that nuke ain't gonna fuck up the hole.
yeah, they're just gonna blow up the island.
I don't know if it would have pierced the shield of the Tesseract thing or not.
Maybe, I guess. But you'd think they could have done something a little bit different where, you know, Iron Man has a weapon that's similar to a nuclear bomb, and he's like, hey, let's utilize this. We can launch it off. I'll grab it. I'll throw it into the like something. But when you're like, yeah, let's just annihilate the whole Manhattan Island, like. Like, what the fuck?
Fuck it. We're better without New York. What the fuck?
Fucking apparently something.
Yeah, it always blew me away that they had the balls to say that you really fucked up New York. I'm like, motherfucker. It was like 70-something deaths, if I remember right. And they had that, but there was going to be a nuke. A fucking nuke.
Yeah. Yep. There was going to just
on
destroy
American
the whole thing.
soil.
Yep.
Like at least Independence Day had some fucking confliction about it.
Right.
I just watched that recently, and the whole time he's like not sure if we're gonna do it. But anyway, fuck, Independence Day had that. Like there was just no regrets at all, and so I don't know. Just, you know, whatever. They got to make what they got to make.
I guess there's just certain parts when you get into the third act. That's where I enjoy the movie, but when you get into that third act, there's some stuff where you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, they could have done without the nuke.
Yeah,
the nuke really kind of made it stupid. It put time on what they were doing. And then also like the timing of. Just let Tony fall back through. All the aliens fell down. They fucking, you know, they Phantom Menace style. They all fell down. But yet she's like timing closing the hole and shit, like to stab the fucking Tesseract or whatever to shut down the portal. I'm like, okay, they're all dead at this point. The nuke worked. Just let Tony fall through already.
Right.
Give him a chance.
Yeah.
Give him more than 30 seconds. But no, fucking Captain America and his imaginary earpiece. He's like, all right, do it.
Yeah.
Like everybody, we have no more fighting going on, and nothing else is coming through that fucking hole, but close it.
Yeah.
Don't give Tony at least some time to
it would have totally avoided Civil War. He's like, fuck it. I didn't like him anyways. Thank you for sacrificing yourself. Close it.
That would be great. Just close it early. No more Civil War.
So speaking, one last thing, you know, just to touch on, bring this full circle and touch on the weight of the MCU, and how, you know, how things don't have gravity to them. You know, pun intended with Tony Stark falling from the sky, but that was one thing that Mom spaghetti.
Yeah.
That was one thing that I remember having so much more weight than when I watched it this time. When Tony comes
you didn't have hindsight.
Yeah, I guess when Tony comes crashing down, I felt that there was a little bit more of like, oh shit, you know, something serious has happened to him. And when you watch it in this, it's pretty quickly. Like it's, you know, just a real brief second, and then the Hulk screams in his face, and it scares him. There's not like this longer, you know, like I kind of picture Superman and Superman Returns, you know, where he falls down, and obviously he doesn't die, and a lot of people shit on that movie, but you know, he crashes into the earth, and then, you know, he ends up like going into the hospital and stuff like that. And this is one of those that stands out where he gets scared. All of a sudden, he's awake, and then, you know, he says, have you guys ever tried shawarma?
Well, he's like, good job, team.
Yeah.
And barely able to move.
And I think one of my arguments for Iron Man 3 as against you, honestly, has been completely kiboshed. Because I know one of your gripes is the fact that he's now has PTSD for the New York incident, and I've always remembered it as, well, I don't know, you know, it seemed like he almost died. I forgot about the Hulk part. You know, I felt that there was a little bit more to it. Watching it now, nah, not really. It's very, very brief, and it's one of those things like his life wasn't as at stake as from what I remembered previously.
Yeah.
So that was just kind of, you know, one of the last things. Iron Man 3 review TBD.
Wow.
One of these days.
I don't know when, but it's gonna be a shit show.
It will indeed.
I hate. Anyway, so let's give a score.
3.4.
Really?
Did you go higher?
Ooh, yeah, I went much higher.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess I don't know. This is the thing. So my score is 4. It's 4 out of 5.
Okay. Holy shit.
So this is the thing. We did this little thing here with Phase 1 for the most part. We did Iron Man, we did Incredible Hulk, and Thor 1. Fuck Captain America, First Avenger.
Yeah, apparently.
So we did this, and I'm just like, Phase 1 just worked so well. It was tight-knit. It was just really well done. The humor made sense. I could live with Phase 1 very well. For the most part. I mean, Thor is just a super generic story, but it still had good humor in it. And I was just watching this, and I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of things to nitpick. There's a lot of dumb things in it, like you were talking about. There's timing issues with, sacrificing and stuff like that. There's a lot of things to possibly nitpick about it, but overall, it's just a very well accomplished movie.
Yeah.
And it gave everybody a fairly badass moment. The Black Widow part was the only one that kind of killed that one, which is really funny if you ever watch how it should have ended. They make fun of that kind of, like, she's just standing there going, pew, pew, pew.
Oh, yeah. Right.
So she's just doing that, and it's just funny. But anyway, it's just, other than that, I liked Hawkeye being up, kind of scouting everybody. Hawkeye, he's fucking doing what he's supposed to do. Everybody had their moments, and I thought it was just really well executed. There's some flaws in it, Hulk controlling his anger, Thor not being able to grab the hammer for like a split second, and then all of a sudden cutting back to him and he's grabbing the hammer. There's always flaws, but I thought it was just really well done, and the humor worked. And I just remember popping so well. I'm trying not to go total hindsight on it, and I'm trying to give it the before the other phases. I'm trying to think of it as Phase 1. Those 4 movies, 3 that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And so I'm just looking at that, and I'm like, it was well done.
Yeah.
It was well done, and it worked for what it was trying to do. It kind of went off the rails a little bit, but I liked it.
I agree. I enjoyed it. I own it actually on Blu-ray. So I enjoyed it enough to buy it back then. Honestly, part of it is I was comparing this to a current movie and how much it was well-rounded in Spider-Man Homecoming. I gave Spider-Man Homecoming a 3.8, I think. I remember it didn't break the 4. And so I was kind of, maybe I overthought it a little bit. Our ratings are kind of bullshit, but but I was kind of like, all right, well, Spider-Man Homecoming, even though it had its flaws, was a pretty well-rounded movie. And so is Avengers. And like I said, cannot discredit anything that Avengers has done and, what the MCU has done. This marking point of, in movies, now everyone has a universe, and it was built so incredibly well. I completely agree. Phase 1, it was really well done, and I wish they would have kind of stuck to the tones and that type of humor, a little bit more.
I guess Iron Man 2 is technically in Phase 1. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, it is. From what I remember, I enjoy Iron Man 2.
Iron Man 2 is good, and I thought it had a lot of potential. Again, the ending kind of falls apart a little bit on that one. I really don't give a shit about Whiplash and Mickey Rourke's robots and stuff.
Yeah, I liked him as a villain. I don't really remember too much of Iron Man 2. I remember kind of enjoying it, like, okay, that was pretty good, kind of thing. But yeah, Avengers is a good movie. I really enjoyed it. I agree with you. Maybe like I said, maybe I was overthinking it a little bit because Spider-Man Homecoming didn't crack 4 for me. So I was like, I like Spider-Man Homecoming.
I like this more than Spider-Man Homecoming.
Really? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, because I kind of did a similar thing. I compared like Spider-Man, the Marvel movies I've seen this year, Spider-Man Homecoming and Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I was using as a basis. I'm like, well, I liked it both better than both those.
Okay.
And I can't remember what I gave Spider-Man, but I think I may have given them both 3.4, 3.5.
Yeah, we were right in that range, 3 point something.
Yeah, and so I was like, but I just really enjoyed this, and I was just really in awe a little bit of just how well it was kind of constructed for all these characters. Mm-hmm. And so
yeah, I agree. The way that Whedon kind of interwove each of the characters, introduced them, reintroduced them, and introduced them to each other, and then had like one of the other parts that is really memorable for me, and it's so small, is when they're arguing, and it's panning the room of them arguing and kind of going back and forth, before the whole helicarrier stuff happens.
The dialogue's a little sketch in that one, but I understand they're getting influenced. But it's like there's one part that always bugged me when Thor's like, "You all look so you're so tiny," and I'm like, "Tiny? Like why you call?" Yeah, Mark Ruffalo's a midget. Because when it pans out and it shows him with a spear, I'm like, fuck, you are a tiny dude.
Yeah, he is.
You are a tiny
compared to Thor, he's a god. The part that I liked was Tony
or
and...
petty. Maybe he says petty.
No, he says puny. I think are puny or no, tiny. Yeah, tiny. Yeah. He says tiny.
Oh, no, he says tiny and petty.
Yeah.
He calls him tiny and petty. And it just kind of like, it seemed kind of a little out of nowhere to me a little bit. Some of that dialogue seemed a little weird.
Well, I like
get the suit on.
Yeah. Put the suit on, and it's like in an angry, and then all of a sudden something happens. Put the suit on. Yeah. And then he runs to the suit. Who Nick Fury conveniently has all their suits on.
You remembered his name. Good job.
It took me a minute. I was like prepping myself because I knew what I was gonna say. But yeah, there's some great iconic moments in this movie. So really well done.
Yep. That concludes our podcast. This is gonna be another long one. It's all kinds of stuff going into our November to remember. We got. We're gonna take Halloween off, I believe. Yep, we're gonna take Halloween off. We got one more show before Thor Ragnarok. We already got our Ragnarok tickets. After that, we're gonna go into one more thing, going into Justice League. We're gonna review Watchmen and the graphic novel. We're gonna go. Just telling you now.
Yeah,
we're gonna go through that. So going through all these different cool things, these different ensemble pieces. Hopefully, this was all cool to listen to as we came up to this big, huge November that we're gonna have in comic book movies. It's looking awesome.
Yeah, coming down the pike. Yeah, not too long, less than a month for Thor. So
yep, like we said, we already got our tickets.
Yeah,
so we're gonna watch that in Atmos. Yeah,
yep,
Atmos, not in 3D. Fuck 3D. No. We're old, and I'm
surprised they still have a showing.
They limited them. There was a lot more 2D shows in this one.
Very smart.
Yeah.
Good job, Galaxy.
Good job. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube page. We're at 80 subscribers, thanks to Heinrich Jailbait.
Yes, and thank you for trolling us, you fuck. You gave us 20 minutes of good quality. Oh, it might have been a little bit more. You gave us some good material to work
Made us laugh.
Yes.
Brought joy to our hearts.
Again, we're reactionary, so we're like, perfect. This is great shit. As Matt said, made us laugh. Joy.
Happy, joy, happy, joy. Yeah, we are kind of like Ren and Stimpy. Anyway.
Or Beavis and Butthead.
I'm a fat cat and you're a little chihuahua.
Fuck, that is pretty accurate. If we ever do t-shirts, that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, there we go. We'll just slap our
t-shirts again, with us on it.
Yeah.
Be sure to check us out on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We're, I don't even know the numbers off the top of my head, 2155, I think, for Instagram. Yeah, something like that. So yeah, we're in there. We've been working a lot. Fall is a busy time for us. Somehow we did Laces Out last year. I was thinking about that. I was like, holy shit.
I don't think our shows were as long.
That might have been it. Now we're getting some detail.
And we were doing Let's Plays.
Oh fuck, that's right. Yeah, because WWE came out around that. Wow, that's crazy.
I don't know. I guess because we're actually kind of trying on the show. So maybe that's taking up a lot of time.
Yeah, that could be.
And probably a lot of people just probably hit the floor thinking like, this is trying.
Yeah, no shit.
For us it is, all right?
So since we try so hard, be sure to rate us and review us on iTunes. Or you can find our podcast in the Google Play Store. But iTunes, that's the key. As we talked about earlier, we will read your review on here, and then you can shoot us an email clarifying your name because, we're idiots. So.
Well, it's still considered one of the best emails we've ever
Absolutely. It might be one of the only ones, but it's awesome.
We've got a couple other ones,
we have.
But not like that. That was truly great. Make sure you look for our podcast on iTunes at Comic Movie Marks. Make sure you check us out in the Google Play Store if you have an Android phone. On Podcast Republic, it plays all Comic Movie Marks podcasts.
Boom.
Booyah.
Sucker.
In case I don't see you.
That's all, folks. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Bye.
There she was, just walking down the street singing. Do what